Hello, my dear friends and fellow TCM students. Today I'm going to go over how I study herbs that release exterior, and I hope it will help you in your future studies. My name is Beloved Wei Amy Li Wei. The reference content material is from Dr. Y.W. Yu, and the reference lesson is from Dr. Luo Ziming. The herbs that release exterior is used mainly to disperse external pathogenic factors and release exterior syndromes, and we often see it in the case of cold and flu. The main function of this group of herbs is to induce sweating and promote urination and reduce edema. Those are especially used for external contracted wind cold, wind heat, summer heat, and wind edema cases. It also stops coughing and wheezing and vents rashes, expel pus, and the rashes are such as rubella and measles, an initial stage of sores or carbuncles. It also relieves the pain in the wind, damp, bee syndromes. So the key factor and key characteristics that are common for this class of herbs is they are acrid. So as we know, the acrid is very light and it travels upward. So it enters the lung and bladder channels. Lung channels helps with cough and wheezing as well as sweating, and bladder channel is to help with promote urination and reduce edema. The one of the caution is when oversweating, it could cause and damage our qi and yin. So patients with spontaneous sweating, night sweating, and ulcers, Lynn syndrome, and hemorrhage will take caution when we prescribe these herbs. The acrid herbs, because they are light and a lot of times they are aromatic as well, so they should not be decocted for a long time. So I have divided this group into two main classes. One is warm herbs. We know the warm herbs that will be my young herbs, right? So these are the herbs that reduce the exterior cold conditions. And there are class of herbs that are cooling. So these are my female or yin herbs. Those are to cool the exterior heat that's causing our disease state. So first one, we are going to go over the herbs that release exterior cold. So these are the warm and acrid family. So these herbs are usually warm and the common function is acrid. So they disperse and they travel up and they're light. So wind cold, when you suffer wind cold exterior, when you will have more cold, and so you will suffer severe chills and you have mild fever. And one important thing is when we have wind cold exterior, you have no sweating and also no thirst because the cold congeals and cold combines. So you may have a little sweating but without the relief of symptoms. And you have dislike to the wind, you have headache and body aches. If you look at our tongues, the tongue will be either no change or it can have a thin white coating. Thin white coating means it's still exterior, and the white means it's cold, right? And the floating pulse is floating. So pulse, when it's floating, it is also exterior condition. So other indications, you may see people with wheezing and coughing, wind edema. Wind edema is face, the upper body is swelling. And also they may have measles or rashes, initial stage of sores and ulcers. So in our group 1, the warm acrid herbs, it's quite a large family. It has at least 14 herbs. So I have divided them into 3 main classes. The first class is to induce sweat and reduce exterior cold herbs. So that's their common function, main function. The second class is to disperse external wind, and basically they are rid of dampness and reduce edema. And the third class is to help with nasal congestion. So I will go over my first class. My first class is 5 herbs. These are the 5 main, very important herbs. And it's ma huang, gui zhi, xiang ru, zisu ye, and senjiang. So I put them basically into a rhyme called ma gui jie xiang zisu jiang. So it's like something smells very fragrant and you have zisu and ginger together. Okay, I'm going to go over this class of group right now. So the first herb that we're going to talk about is ma huang. Ma huang is very important as it is number one in inducing sweat for wind cold access conditions. So if you look at this is like the twig-like, right? And it enters the lung bladder. As we said before, all this group enters the lung and bladder channel. It is a little bit bitter, okay? So it treats the excess condition. We have to remember all this group induce sweating, release exterior, but ma huang only treats exterior, the excess condition. So if you have a deficient patient, you have to use with caution. And the way I remember it is ma huang, actually the sound of it in Chinese, it's same sound as a locust. So I think about the function, I imagine an insect, a locust, is wheezing in cold water. So when the locust or ma huang is wheezing, so it helps us facilitate luncheon calms wheezing in cold water. So it helps external cold conditions, and water, it helps with urination, reduce edema. So this is wind edema. So ma huang facilitate luncheon calm wheezing. So in this way, you have to use honey prepared for the wheezing and cough. The rest of them you use the raw form. It promotes urination and reduce edema. So ma huang promote urination by facilitate lung metabolism. The water metabolism is related to the three organs, the lung, spleen, kidney. So when edema is due to spleen and kidney yang deficiency, other herbs are much better to use than ma huang. However, ma huang is really good to use for the lung edema. So when the edema is caused by lung not spreading or the lung qi not sinking, so we call this edema. You typically will find it blocks the lung sinking function. So we'll see it in the swelling of our face and upper body. When this happens, we use ma huang to normalize lung's metabolism function. So ma huang is also a warm herb, and it can release exterior cold and relieve stasis. The cold is exterior cold. So when we have cold, it will cause stasis of qi and jingye and will cause pain due to the blockage. Ma huang is good to treat wind cold B syndromes, and our joint is also part of the exterior. So when the cold phlegm and blockage lumps, ma huang can also help. So again, ma huang is for exterior cold and not for interior cold. When we talk about interior cold, you can think about like spleen, stomach, pain, cold pain, and menstrual pain. Those are internal. So ma huang does not help with that. Ma huang helps with our external cold. Okay, next one I'm going to go over is the gui zhi. Okay, gui zhi is a cinnamon twig. Okay, so if you look at here, this is different than ma huang. Ma huang is a little bit bitter, right? And gui zhi is sweet. When you think about sweet, then it's more tonifying. So it actually helps the wind cold, regardless of exterior access or deficiency condition. So in deficiency condition, it can tonify. And also the gui zhi is, one very important, as we know, it also induces sweating, but it releases muscle layer. Okay, so the muscle layer, I think about gui zhi is like the sun. Okay, the gui zhi, another important is enters the heart channel. So I think my cinnamon twig is like the sun. The function of the sun, when you step out the sun, it warms, right? It warms your muscle layer. It warms your heart. And it warms and blocks the channel, so it reduces the pain due to the wind B syndrome. So it also the sun will also provide the energy to assist yang energy and block qi. So in gui zhi, once again, it reduces sweating and release muscle layer. It release the cold much deeper than ma huang. Ma huang, in comparison, ma huang is the skin layer, and gui zhi is into the muscle layer. So when we have the cold hands and feet, we can use dang gui si ni tang. So that uses gui zhi to warm the blood and muscle layer. Okay, we remember that. And also warms and blocks the channel collaterals. And here, when we have blood stasis due to cold, and the 桂枝 can warm into our blood level, like 温经汤, it can help with menstrual cold. So I just talked about 麻黄 cannot help with internal cold, such as menstrual cold. However, 桂枝 can help both external and internal cold because it is sweet and it's more tonifying than 麻黄. So 桂枝 can be used more broadly than 麻黄 for excess and deficiency conditions. It can assist yang and block qi. So although it's not as strong as the tonified yang herbs such as 肉桂 and 附子, the 桂枝 is best used to tonify, assist yang in our heart. Okay, so it can help with heart palpitations due to heart yang deficiency. So it can unblock qi to warm body, yi and liquid into steam form. When we think about when water enters our body, it is in the liquid form, and our body really cannot use it. It is a cold water state, and that can cause disease state. In TCM, we call it 水饮. So how do we make this water to be a more useful jing and ye that body can utilize? We have to convert into the kind of steam form. So how do we do that? So if we imagine if we have a puddle in the ground with stagnant water in it, so you can think about stagnant water can cause disease and cause edema in our body, right? So how do we get rid of this stagnant pit of water? The sun will help by evaporating the stagnant water. So we think about 桂枝 is like the sun. It warms and it transforms, and it will use its yang energy to convert water into steam. So gas from the water is able to be used by human body into jing and ye. So 桂枝 can treat edema and 水饮, such as in the 五苓散 and 苓桂竹甘汤. So 桂枝 is, again, it's light and warm like the sunlight. It warms our muscle, warms our heart, and it reduces our pain because of warmness. Okay, so that's how I think of my 桂枝. It's the sun. Okay, next one is 香茹. 香茹, we call it the summer 麻黄. If you see it, it's very, very similar to 麻黄, except it's thinner and it's more twiggy. Okay, so it's aromatic. There were the 香. 香 means aromatic. Okay, so when you have any aromatic herbs, then you know it will help with spreading, right? So 香茹, we call it summer 麻黄. It is strong in induce sweating and reduce exterior. And when the summer season, you will also have more dampness. If you think summer, sometimes summer rain, right? There has a lot more dampness than other seasons. So this will help more dampness within. So the way I remember is 香茹 is aromatic blanket got damp and wet from the rain. I have a aromatic because 茹 rhymes with a blanket. So 香茹, if I hang an aromatic blanket outside to dry, but there's the summer rain came and got it wet and damp. So the main function is promote urination, reduce swelling, and transport dampness in middle and help with middle gel. So that's how I remember my 香茹. It will transform dampness. And you decoct for a short time to release exterior cold, and you use longer time to reduce edema. Okay. The next herb we're talking about that is 紫苏叶. Okay. 紫苏 here, the most important word for me is 苏. Okay. So I think about 苏 as soothing. Okay. So what is soothe? Okay. It soothes the middle gel, the stomach and spleen. It helps with nausea, vomiting, and poor appetite, right? It soothes, okay? It soothes what? Calm fetus and morning sickness. It soothes our baby because the purple color, 紫 means purple color, is made very protecting, I think. It's soothing. It soothes our fetus and morning sickness. It also helps release seafood poisoning. If you go to a sushi place, or they will wrap 紫苏叶 around their seafood and eat together. Number one, it tastes good, it's aromatic, and number two, it will reduce any of the little, the toxicity or coolness of the seafood. So 紫苏 is leaf is better to release exterior, and stem is better for calming fetus, regulate qi, and help the middle gel. Su again is soothing. In Chinese, su is also mean 舒服 means soothing, also means 苏里七级. So very interesting Chinese and English. Su, the word su is both meaning, soothing. Okay. Next one is our dear friend, Senjiang. Senjiang is the ginger, right? So everybody knows Senjiang goes to the stomach and spleen because it calms our, vomiting. We know it helps our stomach feeling better. But one thing we have to remember here, it enters lung channel. So it warms the lung and stops cough. What kind of cough? It helps with cough due to wind cold. Okay, so Senjiang, we use it to the wind cold is when we have cough and we cough out the loose clear phlegm and clear nasal discharge. So when you have a cold, wind cold, you remember the word clear. So if you have a wind heat or lung heat, you will have yellow phlegm, yellow discharge. Then we use cooling herbs. So here, if you have more clear discharge, you use the ginger is the best. So it helps vomiting due to stomach cold and morning sickness, and it resolves the toxicity of seafood again. Sometimes we eat senjiang with seafood. It also reduces the toxicity of two other herbs, 半夏 and 天南星. So in summary, I made a chart of this for everybody to remember. So these 5 herbs are 麻桂香, 紫苏姜, okay? So if you think about a fragrant, really yummy food, and you wrap it in 紫苏 and ginger to make it even better, less toxic and even better, okay? So when we think about 麻黄, think about a little bug. It's wheezing, a locust, wheezing in cold water, okay? So it helps with wheezing, it helps with exterior cold conditions. All these herbs are induce sweating and release exterior cold, right? And also help us, water is dampness and edema. So the 麻黄 is locust in wheezing in the cold water, okay? And 桂枝 is our warm sunlight, the cinnamon twig or cinnamon bark. What does it do? It helps with warm sun. The sun warms our heart, right? The sun warms our muscles, and the sun is both for excess deficient condition because it's sweet in nature, right? The cinnamon is sweet, whereas 麻黄 is only for excess condition, only for excess because it's slightly bitter. It's more, it's stronger. However, it's only for excess conditions, okay? And then 香茹, okay, remember the aromatic blanket got damp and wet in the summer rain. So it's summer 麻黄. It harmonizes the middle. It helps with dampness. And 紫苏, that's the soothing the middle. It calms fetus and calms our middle gel, stomach and spleen. It also reduces seafood poisoning when we eat with 紫苏. And jiang is ginger. And the way I remember is gingerbread man. The gingerbread man is coughing. What kind of coughing? It's cold type of coughing. So he's coughing up loose phlegm, white, clear phlegm. And he is a bit nauseated. So he needs gingerbread man actually need ginger to help him. So it warms the lung and stop coughing. That's very important. It also helps reduce toxicity and such as seafood, 半夏 and 天南星. Okay, so this is my lesson 1, the part 1 of the warm herbs that release exterior. And I will have lesson 2 and lesson 3 in the coming videos. Thank you for watching and hope you do well on your test.